Join us on Twitter. Feel free to do that at SCG Live, hashtag SCGCOL. We are up bright and early, and we appreciate you guys if you're with us as well. And we'll see who's going to win here. As you see, both players waiting for the green light. They've been given it, and we will start a semifinal match.
All right, Stephen Duram on your left. Bant Hexproof starts off with no 1-drop. Stephen started off with a mulligan to 6, and now he's got no 2-drop. No blue mana as of yet. John Wallace starts off with Overgrown Tomb and Blood Crypt.
Oh, okay, so he has a Selesnya Charm, and he's going to make a 2/2. Now, suiting up this creature versus a Hexproof one is wildly different.
Yeah. If he's got the 2/2 Knight with Vigilance, and given that that was his turn 2 play, you have to think that he's going to go, yeah, there he goes. He goes for the Rancor. 2 Rancors. And taking advantage of John Wallace's shields down, Stephen Duram cracks in for 6 damage right here. And those Rancors, even if the Knight is removed, even if it's destroyed, he's going to get those back. So this is not as bad as we originally thought.
Yeah. So Wallace is going to move down to 14. Again, Duram putting it on a non-hexproof creature. No, not ideal, but he also did take a mulligan to 6, so it's not really, he can't find an Invisible Stalker at Geist Trap. This deck doesn't have any manipulation, so it is just a situation where, he's hoping for the best. Maybe Wallace doesn't have a removal spell. You see he draws a Garrett Primal Hunter, but he does have a Putrefy in his hand, so he will be able to kill that if he'd like to. And it looks like he's going to take care of it right now.
Yeah, let's see here. Does Duram have Simic Charms in his deck? He does not.
I think he could have waited to pull the trigger on that. And maybe try to induce Duram into putting another enchantment on it, but you're just going to see Duram play an Avacyn's Pilgrim and Rancor it up.
So no 3rd land for Stephen Duram and no blue mana, so it's quite possible that he does have Invisible Stalkers and or Geist of St. Traps in his hand waiting for a blue mana source. Meanwhile, John Wallace, turn 4, on schedule, Huntmaster of the Fells, life gain, 2 blockers right here.
The thing that's really frustrating about this deck in Bant Hexproof is, as good as this deck can be, now he's really making a huge Avacyn's Pilgrim. Jeez. As good as this deck can be, it doesn't mulligan very well because, again, it doesn't have any manipulation, no ponders or brainstorms or any of that nonsense. It's kind of what you see is what you get. And we see right now, this is a huge Avacyn's Pilgrim.
That is a 3, 4, 8? I think that's an 8/4 first striker right there. First strike trampler. And even though John Wallace has blockers, he's going to need another removal spell for that Avacyn's Pilgrim right now.
Right off the top.
Ooh-wee.
That was a timely Dreadbore. You see his hand right now. He's going to come in with the Huntmaster of the Fells and the Wolf token. He had a Thragtusk, a Bonfire of the Damned, a Garrett Primal Hunter, and a timely Dreadbore is going to turn things around here.
Had it.
Yeah.
Didn't have it.
No, did not have it. Blue source.
Okay, so now we'll see if he's got the hexproof creature, and he's got 2 Rancors. So John Wallace, wow, nothing.
Has passed back.
And that's going to flip the Huntmaster into a Ravager of the Fells.
He does have an Ajani Caller of Pride in his hand, so I'm wondering, maybe does he have another Selesnya Charm? There's a Thragtusk.
Okay. The life gain of that Thragtusk, yeah. So that was a quick one right there. Stephen Duram, despite his deck's name, did not have any of those namesake hexproof creatures there.
Yeah, did not draw a single hexproof guy. Again, had to move in on a non-hexproof, non-voice resurgence creature. He also has 2 Strangleroot guys in his deck as well, so of the creatures that he drew, none of them held up well to removal, and so he ends up getting both of his guys killed. A timely top deck Dreadbore for John Wallace, and that is a victory for Mr. Wallace there. So, Junned up a game.
And he didn't, because Stephen did not draw his hexproof creatures, John could get away with his regular removal spells. We saw Putrefy on the Knight token and a Dreadbore on the Avacyn's Pilgrim. Now, what's going to happen in sideboard here? Stephen Duram, what's he going to bring in that's going to help him against the Jund deck?
Well, we'll get to the sideboards in just a moment because we are going to cut back here in the booth. We are going to do a little bit of trivia really quickly. So, me, Riki, back here in the booth for you guys. We're going to go with 6 months of trivia, 6 months of premium, excuse me, in our trivia question right now. Again, for those of you who have never played with us earlier this morning, I'm going to ask you guys a question. You're going to hashtag your answer on Twitter with the hashtag of SCG Premium. And again, it is not about speed, it is about accuracy, because we will choose one of the people who do get it correct, and we will draw from them and announce the winner after our semifinals is over. That question is, within Stephen Durham's deck, he does have 2 Planeswalkers in his main deck, his starting 60, a card that is not often seen in the Bant Hexproof strategy, but one that Ricky and I, we both like quite a bit. So, if you're able to name that 2 of Planeswalker, hashtag your answer with the hashtag of SCG Premium, and we will select one winner after the semifinals is over.
Okay.
Easy.
You heard him. Hashtag SCG Premium.
Or else.
Or else, yeah.
We won't do anything about it.
No,
But
I'm
you
not going
won't
to do
win.
anything.
But you won't
Cedric
win.
is going to shake his fist rather
Big fist.
enthusiastically.
Big fist.
And I'm just going to sit here and give you the
I'll
scores.
shake a fist for
Both
Ricky,
fists,
too.
okay.
There.
Thank you.
No problem. See,
So-
I'm ready this morning. We're good to go.
So now let's go to the sideboard, Cedric.
Who do you want to start with? Bant Hexproof or Jund?
I want to
Your
know.
choice.
I want to know what the hexproof deck is going to do. He lost game 1, despite what we thought might be a favorable matchup for him.
So, I mean, one thing I saw when Steven was sideboarding is he put down 7 cards almost immediately, which I never, ever see a lot of people do. He reached for his box after he conceded, put down 7 cards immediately and started sideboarding and then started shuffling it. So, if I think there are 7 cards coming in here, I think it's going to be like 2 Rootborn Defenses, 3 Rootborn Defenses, 2 Sigardas, 1 Forest, and like 1 mystery card. Maybe it's an Azorius Charm, maybe it's one of those Advent of the Worms, maybe it's a Centaur Healer, who knows. But he reached very, very quickly and changed what he was doing. So I think the Rootborn Defenses is pretty good here, but not great. I think the Sigarda is absolutely fantastic here if he can get to 5 mana. And then a Forest to help actually cast Sigarda I also like as well. I think those are his options. And I'll let you take a look at John Wallace's, because there are some here that really do stand out.
Yeah, let's see. He's going to want more removal spells. He's got the 2 Devour Fleshes and the Liliana of the Veil, non-targeted removal, or targets the player. And 2 copies of Abrupt Decay, another Dreadbore, Gaze of Granite, if he can get the mana for that, is certainly good. And 2 Pillar of Flame for the Voice of Resurgence that he knows is somewhere abouts in the Bant Hexproof deck.
See, I actually like Wallace's options here a lot, where you normally don't see, people have a lot of options for Bant Hexproof. You can tell that he kind of built his deck in mind with the idea of, I don't really have any interest of losing to Bant Hexproof. He's got Devour Flesh on the board. He's got 3 Liliana in the Veil through his 75. Those copies of Abrupt Decay as well. And as you mentioned, Gaze of Granite, a card that really does just say, I would, if I can get the mana, I'm awesome against Bant Hexproof, provided I can get there.
And that's a good thing to have in your back pocket. If you can buy some time early on with your other removal spells, and then at some point Stephen Durham's going to go all in on something, and you just wipe the board with this Gaze of Granite. Alright, so starting off, Stephen Durham did lose game 1. He's on the play. He opens with a Breeding Pool into a Temple Garden.
I would hope he has a turn 2 play this game. He doesn't have a turn 2 play this game either.
Going with another Selesnya Charm here, right? I mean, if he played both of those lands, if he played the second land paying 2 life, yeah. This is Stephen Durham. I don't know about this. Keeping hands potentially without Invisible Stalker or Geist of Saint Traft against the Jund deck.
Especially when you know you're up against a deck that has, some non-targeted removal and stuff like that. I think you have to try to find a premium hand to be able to keep. I don't think you can keep any sketchy hands against this deck and hoping for the best.
But he plays another Shockland untapped, paying 2 life. And he's going to suit up with a Rancor. And what's going to go on here? Spectral Flight as well?
I can't tell. It looks like he's a little bit hesitant to move in, but again, when you're playing in this deck...
Well, he attacked for 4, so he played that Temple Garden untapped. He's going to go for a second Selesnya Charm, Night Token here.
You see Wallace move Dreadbore to the front of his hand. He also has Liliana the Veil, and he has Vampire Nighthawk too. So we do have a quick update for you guys. You see a Dreadbore resolving on the Night Token. Adam Johnson, the young red-green mage, takes down game 1 against Mark Kelso. So if you're a believer out there, he is winning.
And now Stephen Durham, his 4th Shockland, 3 of them paying 2 life.
This is really interesting because now
so he must have brought in Advent of the Worm right here. No.
He does not cast it.
I'm not sure what's going on anymore because we saw...
he has Advent of the Worm in his hand.
We saw Steven play a Shockland untapped on turn 3, leaving 2 mana open, do nothing with it. Play a Shockland untapped on turn 4, do nothing with it. And now John Wallace, I think, has to be confused as well. What is Steven Duram waiting for? Is he waiting for Wallace to make a play so that he knows his Advent is clear? But now it's not that clear. John Wallace plays a Thragtusk.
Alright, so here's Advent of the Worm.
Okay. Advent of the Worm. I guess he can suit it up with a Spectral Flight or an Ethereal Armor to kind of get around that Thragtusk.
Gonna draw a card, draws Invisible Stalker for the turn.
But Wallace has so much removal. Like you're spending time here to get damage in, but then Wallace is just gonna remove this worm at some point when he untaps.
The longer that you go, the worse off it is for you too. So here is the Spectral Flight for Johnny.
Oh, that's a big hit. So it's 5, 2, 7.
It's 14.
14 damage. So Steven Duram was saving up for the big swing here. Advent of the Worm into Spectral Flight, and then a Johnny Call of Pride.
I agree with you that that is a big hit. The thing, though, is like if it's not if it's not putting John Wallace to 0, it's not terribly scary. That's how I feel, because again, it's not like this deck has any just you Putrefy, take care of the Worm token. It's not like the Bant Hexproof deck has any reach to close out a game. You know, if you're at 1, you're not dead against this deck. Invisible Stalker joins the party.
John Wallace shaking his finger there at the Invisible Stalker, possibly saying, I knew that card was in your deck, I just didn't want to see it. But he has used 2 targeted removal spells thus far, Dreadbore and Putrefy again.
He's had this Liliana the Veil in his hand for a very, very long time.
You gotta use it, right? You can't take the chance that Steven Duram has another big play lined up with a Johnny plus some aura.
Yeah, I agree.
There you go.
Yeah, that's what Wallace is going to do. He's going to make him sacrifice the Invisible Stalker, which, again, I like this play a lot, as you had mentioned. Shaking his finger at Duram, saying, get your little hexproof guy out of here. Duram is just going to play another land and pass the turn back.
John Wallace with a little showmanship here for the crowd. I like it. He knows he's on camera. He's got the hand gestures.
Coming in for 5 more. No reason to activate Wolfrun. Can't kill Duram this turn. And I think he has another Thragtusk in his hand. I mean, he's got a lot of options. He's got 2 Huntmaster of the Fells, a Vampire Nighthawk, and a Thragtusk. Probably just want to play Thragtusk and gain as much life as he possibly can this turn. But again, there are no like threaten type effects or any reach coming from the Bant Hexproof deck. So
he does have the Strangleroot Geist with haste, so I would agree with playing the Thragtusk here. Huntmaster not bad.
He can also play
2 life.
He can gain 2 life and then play a land untapped, lose that 2 life, and play a Vampire Nighthawk if he wants to. He's going to move Liliana up. Duram is going to discard a Forest. Bye-bye Olivia.
And we see Steven Duram with at least 7 lands, 6 in play, just discard a Forest, so a little bit flooded this game. And we saw him stumble in game 1, stuck on 2 lands for a turn or 2. And there's the Nighthawk. Insurance against any shenanigans, and that's it. Steven Duram extends the hand. John Wallace is your victor. He's moving on to the finals. He wins 2-0 with his Jund deck.
Yeah.
Did not really need much of that removal. All he did was Liliana of the Veil one time to get rid of an Invisible Stalker. Steven Duram keeping some hands going in on non-hexproof creatures.
Yeah, I feel like that Duram really kept some questionable hands here, especially when you know what the matchup is going to be. You know, it's one thing to have to just keep a questionable hand in the Swiss where you don't know what you're playing against. But when you know you're playing against Jund, I think that you're looking for certain types of hands. The range of hands that you're willing to keep is a little bit lower, and you're just looking for certain cards. And I don't really think that he took the opportunity to take mulligans or really try, you know, to give himself the best opportunity to win that match. I just feel like the hands that he kept were fairly mediocre.
Yeah, I agree with that. When you're when you're in the top 8, I think things change a lot. I mean, obviously, you know there's more on the line, but you know what's going on. You have much more information. In this case,